4-year-old beggar girl finds Millionaire holding a dead baby and saying, "He was my only son." But what she does next makes everyone cry. Watch until the end. You won't regret it. Comment what you think will happen. Your opinion is very important. And subscribe to my channel to support my work. Your help is very important. The light March rain pattered on the face of Arthur Peterson as he walked aimlessly through the town square of the small town of Harmony Creek, Iowa. At 52, the businessman everyone knew as prosperous and successful carried a weight in his arms that seemed heavier than all his fortune. The inert little body of his baby, just 6 months old, was wrapped in a light blue blanket, the same one Sarah had embroidered with so much love during her pregnancy. "He was my only son," Arthur murmured between tears that mingled with the morning drizzle. The words came out broken, as if each syllable was cutting his throat. The wooden park bench where he sat was wet, but he didn't care. Nothing else mattered now. His businesses, his 3 bakeries, his 2 hardware stores, everything seemed empty in the face of that devastating loss. Little Lily observed from afar, hidden behind the statue of the town's founder, Mayor Thompson. At only 4 years old, she had already learned to read adults' emotions to survive on the streets. She had been living alone for 2 years since her mother, Brenda Johnson, abandoned her one cold morning, promising to return in a few days that never came. But there was something different about that man sitting on the bench. The pain emanating from him was different from the anger of the shopkeepers who chased her away, different from the indifference of the passers-by who pretended not to see her. It was a pain she recognized. A pain like the one she felt when she remembered her little brother who had died months before, when she still lived in the shack on the outskirts of town with Brenda. Lily approached slowly, her bare feet making small noises on the wet sidewalk. Her clothes were dirty and torn, her hair tangled from neglect. When she got close to the bench, she extended her small, dirty hand. "Spare change, mister?" she asked, with the weak voice she had grown accustomed to using to arouse pity. Arthur raised his red and swollen eyes from crying. For a moment, he stared at that scrawny child who seemed to be nothing but skin and bones. In her eyes, big and dark, there was a wisdom that didn't match her age. It was as if she could see through his soul. "I don't have anything to give you," he said, his voice choked. Lily tilted her head, watching the man with curiosity. Then, without asking permission, she sat down next to him on the wet bench. Her thin legs dangled, not reaching the ground. "Mister is sad like I get sometimes," she said simply. Arthur looked at her with surprise. He didn't expect that observation from such a small child. "How do you know?" "Because I know when people are hurting," Lily replied, picking up a colorful pebble from the ground and offering it to him. "My mom said that when we give something to someone who is sad, the sadness gets a little smaller." The simple and unexpected gesture touched something deep in Arthur's shattered heart. He hadn't felt any kind of human connection in months. Since he lost Sarah 3 years before in an accident, he had shut himself off from the world, focusing only on work. And now, with the departure of his baby, he felt completely alone in the universe. "What's your name?" he asked, putting the pebble in his shirt pocket. "Lily and the mister." "Arthur." He looked at her more closely. "Where are your parents?" "I don't know. My mom left a long time ago." The girl swung her legs as if she were telling something commonplace. "But it's okay. I can take care of myself." Arthur's heart clenched. How could such a small child talk so naturally about abandonment? How could she show so much strength in the face of such a cruel situation? They sat side by side in silence for a few minutes, watching the rain gradually subside. Lily didn't ask for more money, didn't talk about food or shelter. She was simply there, her presence small but comforting. "Thank you for the pebble," Arthur said finally. "You're welcome, Mr. Arthur." She smiled, revealing a few missing teeth. "Tomorrow I'll bring you something pretty again." When Lily got up to leave, Arthur felt a strange impulse. "Wait," He took some bills from his wallet. "For you to get something to eat." Lily took the money, but didn't run away like other children would. "Thank you. You're kind like my mom was before she got sad." And then she was gone, walking with small but determined steps through the cobblestone streets of the historic town. Arthur watched until she disappeared around the corner, feeling something he hadn't experienced in a long time, a small spark of warmth in his icy chest. That night, for the first time since the loss of the baby, Arthur managed to sleep a few hours without nightmares. The next day, Arthur woke up with a strange feeling. For the first time in weeks, he hadn't had nightmares about the baby. Instead, he had dreamed of a girl with big eyes offering him colorful flowers. He tried to push that image out of his mind as he got ready for another day of mechanical work, but something pulled him toward the town square. At 10 in the morning, when he would normally be checking the movement of the bakeries, Arthur found himself walking through the cobblestone streets toward the bench where he had sat the day before. He tried to convince himself that it was just a coincidence, that he needed to pass by there anyway to get to the bank where he would make some deposits. But there she was. Lily was sitting on the same bench, holding a small yellow flower that she had picked from some flower bed in the town. Her hair was a little neater, as if she had tried to comb it with her fingers, and she was wearing a different shirt from the previous one, though equally worn. "Good morning, Mr. Arthur," she said with a shy smile when she saw him approaching. "I brought this for you." Arthur accepted the flower, feeling that tightness in his chest again. "Thank you, Lily. Did you sleep well?" "I did. I found a warm place near Mr. Johnson's bakery." She spoke as if it were the most natural thing in the world to sleep on the street. "And you? Your eyes are less red today." The girl's insightful observation surprised him. How could someone so small perceive so many details? "I slept a little better," he admitted, sitting down next to her. "That's good. When we sleep well, our heart hurts less," Lily said, swinging her legs. "My mom used to tell me that when I cried a lot." "Do you miss her?" Lily was thoughtful for a moment. "I do, but she was always very sad. Sometimes it's better when sad people go away so they don't make other people sad too." The wisdom of that child was disconcerting. Arthur wondered what kind of experiences a 4-year-old girl had gone through to speak so maturely about pain and abandonment. "Lily, would you like to have breakfast with me?" he asked suddenly, surprised by his own question. The girl's eyes lit up. "Can I really?" "Of course. I know a place that makes really good jelly donuts." They walked together through the streets of the town, Arthur adapting his large stride to Lily's small steps. He took her to his nearest bakery, where the employees greeted him with discreet surprise at seeing him accompanied by a child, evidently living on the streets. "Mrs. Davis," he called the oldest employee, "can you prepare a hearty breakfast for Lily here?" Maria, a 60-year-old woman who had worked with Arthur for over a decade, watched the girl with a maternal look. "Of course, boss. What does the little one like to eat?" Lily looked around the bakery with fascination, as if she were in an enchanted palace. The shelves full of breads, sweets, and savory snacks were a spectacle for someone who lived on leftovers found in the trash. "You can choose whatever you want," Arthur said, noticing the sparkle in her eyes. "Can I really? Anything?" The disbelief in Lily's voice broke his heart. "Anything." Lily pointed shyly to a golden French roll. "Just that is good already. Just that is not enough. Mrs. Davis, also prepare a glass of warm milk, some jelly donuts, and—" Arthur stopped, observing the girl's amazed expression. "And a piece of that cornbread." While Lily ate with impressive delicacy for someone who was clearly very hungry, Arthur watched her. She chewed slowly, savoring each piece as if it were the most precious of foods. From time to time she stopped to smile at him, as if she wanted to be sure that this was real. "Mr. Arthur," she said after finishing half of the bread, "can I save a little piece for later?" "Why?" "For when I get hungry again. Sometimes it takes a long time for food to appear." Arthur's heart broke a little more. "You can eat everything now. Tomorrow, if you want, we can have breakfast together again. Promise?" "I promise." In the following days, that routine was repeated. Every morning, Lily appeared in the town square with some small gift: a colourful pebble, a flower, a drawing made with charcoal on paper she found in the trash. And Arthur, who had previously avoided any unnecessary human contact, found himself eager for those meetings. The girl began to tell small stories about her life on the streets, but always in a light way, as if they were adventures from a children's book. She talked about the cats that protected her from the cold, about the ladies who sometimes gave her leftovers, about the secret hiding places she had discovered around the town. "You're very brave," Arthur said on a Thursday, watching her draw birds on the ground with a twig. "My mom said I had to be strong because she couldn't take care of me right," Lily replied, focused on the drawing. "She said special people like me were born to take care of other sad people." "Special people?" "Yeah. She said I have a gift for seeing when someone needs caring." Lily looked up from the drawing and stared at Arthur with that penetrating gaze. "Like you, Mr. Arthur. You need a lot of caring." Arthur felt his eyes watering. How could an abandoned child who had suffered so much show so much compassion for a stranger? "And you, Lily? Do you also need caring?" She nodded shyly. "But now I have you. You take care of me in the morning, and I take care of you too." At that moment, Arthur realized that something had changed deeply in his life. That small and fragile girl had become the reason why he woke up every morning. For the first time since the loss of the baby, he felt that he had something worth living for. But what he didn't know was that his daily meetings with Lily did not go unnoticed. Brenda Johnson, the girl's mother, had returned to the town secretly and watched her daughter's movements from afar. And when she saw Arthur Peterson, the wealthiest businessman in the region, showing affection for the girl, her eyes shone with a dangerous greed. Brenda Johnson watched hidden behind a tree in the town square, her cold eyes calculating every move of Arthur and Lily. At 28 years old, she carried on her face the marks of a difficult life: premature wrinkles, teeth stained by addiction, and a look that had lost any trace of motherhood a long time ago. She had returned to the town not out of longing for her daughter, but because she had heard rumors that a child was getting along well with the most prosperous businessman in the region. "So that's it," she muttered to herself, seeing Arthur buy a sandwich for Lily at a nearby snack bar. "My daughter found a rich daddy." Brenda had spent the last 2 years living off petty scams in neighboring towns, supporting her addiction with the money she managed to extort from lonely men. She was an expert at identifying vulnerable targets and exploiting their emotional weaknesses, and Arthur Peterson seemed to be the perfect target. Meanwhile, at Arthur's house, his sister-in-law, Margaret Fonseca, nervously flipped through the financial reports of the family businesses. At 45 years old, she had always lived in the shadow of her brother-in-law's success, fueling an envy that grew every year. As Sarah's sister, she had inherited a small share in the business after her sister's death, but that was never enough to satisfy her ambition. "What's he getting into lately?" she muttered, noting that Arthur had missed several important meetings in recent weeks. "First he loses that baby, and now he's always disappeared. Business can't stay like this." On the afternoon of that Thursday, Brenda decided to act. She put on her best dress, a faded blue dress but still presentable, and went to the town square at the time she knew she would find Lily with Arthur. Her plan was simple: to appear as a worried and desperate mother, to touch the businessman's heart, and then to present her proposal. "Lily!" she shouted when she saw them sitting on the bench, feigning surprise and relief. "My daughter! I finally found you!" The girl froze upon hearing that familiar voice. Her little face, which seconds before radiated joy, turned into a mask of fear and confusion. Arthur immediately noticed the change and instinctively put his protective arm around Lily's small shoulders. "Mum," Lily whispered, her voice trembling. Brenda approached with fake tears streaming down her face. My darling, I looked for you everywhere. I got sick. I had to be hospitalized, but now I'm better, and I came to get you. Who are you? Arthur asked suspiciously. There was something in that woman's posture that bothered him deeply. I'm Lily's mother, Brenda Johnson. She extended her hand with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. And you must be the gentleman who has been taking care of my daughter. I don't know how to thank you for your kindness. Lily cowered even more against Arthur. Mr. Arthur, I don't want to leave, she whispered softly, but not so softly that Brenda couldn't hear. Now, honey, don't talk like that. You're my girl. Come here and give Mommy a hug. No, Lily said with surprising firmness. You left me alone. You said you were coming back and you didn't. Brenda forced an expression of pain. I'll explain everything later, darling. Now let's go home. Wait, Arthur intervened, feeling Lily's distress. The girl is scared. Maybe it's better if we talk first. Brenda's eyes flashed with renewed interest. That man really cared about Lily, which made her plan even more promising. You're right. How about we grab a coffee to talk calmly? I'm sure we can reach an agreement that's good for everyone. Agreement? Arthur asked, frowning. Well, Brenda pretended to hesitate. I see that you've become fond of Lily, and she clearly likes you a lot. Maybe we can arrange something temporary while I get myself reorganized. Arthur felt a chill in his stomach. There was something deeply wrong with that situation, but Lily was visibly terrified at the possibility of leaving with her mother. What exactly do you mean? He asked. Brenda looked around, as if checking that no one was listening. Look, I'll be frank with you. I've been through very difficult times. I have debts. I need some time to get back on my feet. If you could, let's say, help me with a monthly amount, I could let Lily stay with you for now. It would be better for her, since she's gotten used to it. The blackmail was presented so subtly that for a moment Arthur couldn't fully process what he was hearing. That woman was trying to sell her own daughter. How much? He asked, struggling to keep his voice calm. $1,000 a month would be enough for me to get a decent place and stabilize myself, said Brenda, as if she were doing him a favor. Lily looked from one to the other, her big eyes full of tears. Even though she was so small, she understood that her fate was being decided at that moment. Mr. Arthur, she whispered, please don't let me leave. I promise to be a good girl. Arthur's heart broke. How could that innocent child think that she needed to deserve to be loved and protected? Okay, he said to Brenda, knowing he had no choice. But I want it to be clear that I'm doing this for Lily's sake. Sure. You're a very kind man, said Brenda with a victorious smile. I'll stop by here every month to check on how she's doing. That night, Arthur took Lily to his house for the first time. The girl walked through the big house with reverence, gently touching the furniture as if it were made of crystal. Can I really stay here? She asked, watching the room he had improvised for her. Yes, you can. This is your home now. But even while comforting Lily, Arthur knew that he had entered a dangerous game. Brenda didn't seem like the kind of person who would be satisfied with $1,000 for very long, and there was something in the way she had looked at his house, his cars, his clothes, that made him deeply uneasy. What he didn't know was that Margaret had passed by the town square at that very moment and watched the whole scene from afar. And now she also had plans involving that unusual situation. Margaret Fonseca couldn't sleep that night. The scene she had witnessed in the town square ran through her mind like a disturbing movie. Arthur talking to an unknown woman and a street child, then taking the girl home as if it were the most natural thing in the world. To her, it smelled like scandal. The next morning, Margaret arrived early at the construction company office, where she usually helped with the administrative part of the business. She found Arthur more animated than she'd seen him in months, whistling softly while organizing some papers. "Good morning, Arthur," she said, watching him carefully. "You seem different today." "Good morning, Margaret. I'm fine, thank you." He continued working, clearly not wanting to prolong the conversation. "Yesterday afternoon, I passed by the town square and saw you talking to a woman and a child," she said casually, pretending to flip through some documents. "Did something happen?" Arthur stopped what he was doing and stared at her. "It was just a personal matter, nothing related to business." "Personal matter? Arthur, are you taking care of a street child? Don't you think that could harm our reputation?" "Our reputation," he repeated, a tone of irritation growing in his voice. "Margaret, what I do in my private life is none of your business." "It is when it can affect the family business," she retorted. "People talk, Arthur. A child living in your house without explanation. Have you thought about what they'll think?" Arthur clenched his fist on the table. "What exactly are they going to think?" Margaret shrugged, but there was a calculated malice in her eyes. "I don't know. A single man, alone, suddenly appears with a girl. People have dirty minds. You know how it is." The insinuation was like a slap in Arthur's face. "How dare you suggest such a thing?" "I'm not suggesting anything," she said, raising her hands in false innocence. "I'm just warning you about how others might interpret the situation." At that moment, Arthur understood that Margaret wasn't worried about his reputation. She was planting seeds of doubt and scandal. But why? Meanwhile, at his house, Lily carefully explored every room. Arthur's house was simple but comfortable, with solid wood furniture and family photos scattered around the walls. She stopped in front of a photo of Arthur with a beautiful woman and a small baby. "Were they your family?" she asked when Arthur arrived for lunch. "They were," he replied, feeling the familiar pain tighten his chest. "My wife Sarah and our baby. Did they go to heaven?" Arthur nodded, unable to speak for a moment. Lily gently touched the photo. "They must be happy that you're taking care of me now. Good people in heaven like it when we help other people." The simplicity and kindness of that child continued to impress Arthur. How could someone who had suffered so much abandonment have so much compassion? In the following days, Margaret began her whispering campaign around the town. She commented discreetly with the bakery employees, with the suppliers, with the regular customers, always indirectly, always feigning concern. "Did you see that the boss is taking care of a street child?" she said to Mrs. Davis, the oldest employee of the main bakery. "I hope he knows what he's doing." "Why do you say that, Mrs. Fonseca?" asked Mrs. Davis, who had developed a genuine affection for Lily in recent days. "Oh, I don't mean any harm. It's just that a single man, a child with no known family. You understand. People might misinterpret." Mrs. Davis frowned. "The girl is an angel. And the boss is happier than I've seen him in a long time." Sure, agreed Margaret falsely. "I just think he should be more careful. Business could be affected if there's any misunderstanding." While Margaret spread her defamation campaign, Brenda didn't stand still. She had rented a cheap room on the outskirts of the town and spent her days observing Arthur's routine, calculating how much she could extract from him before the situation became unsustainable. $1,000 is just the beginning, she murmured to herself, watching Arthur leave the house with Lily to take her to a doctor's appointment. A man like that must have a lot more in his account. At the appointment, Dr. Edwards, the town's pediatrician, was concerned about Lily's health. The girl was malnourished, with clear signs of having spent long periods without proper care. "She will need nutritional follow-up and some vaccinations that are overdue," he explained to Arthur, "but nothing that can't be resolved with proper care." "Do whatever is necessary," said Arthur immediately. "Are you related to the child?" The question caught Arthur off guard. I'm taking care of her temporarily." The doctor made some notes, but Arthur noticed an expression of doubt on his face. Later, he would find out that Dr. Edwards had commented on the unusual situation with other colleagues without malice, but contributing to the buzz that was starting to form in the town. When they returned home, Lily was quieter than usual. "Mr. Arthur, are people talking about us?" "Why do you ask that?" "Today on the street, I heard a lady commenting to another about a man who was taking care of a street girl. They spoke softly, but I heard." Arthur felt anger rise in his chest. How could people be so cruel to an innocent child? "Don't worry about it, Lily. What matters is that you're safe now." But Lily, with her keen perception, noticed the tension in his shoulders. "You're worried?" "A little," he admitted, "but we'll be okay. I promise." That night, Arthur received an unexpected call. It was Brenda. "Arthur, it's Brenda here. I need to talk to you." "What is it?" "Some people have been looking for me, asking questions about you and Lily. I think someone is spreading rumors around town." Arthur's blood ran cold. "What kind of rumors?" "Ugly things, about a single man taking care of a child without explanation. You know how it is, small town. And what do you want?" "Look, I can help solve this situation. I can appear in public, make it clear that I'm the mother and that I authorized you to take care of her. But," she paused calculatingly, "that's going to take work. It's going to expose me. I think our monthly collaboration needs an adjustment. How much do you want? 2,000. And maybe you can help me with a better place to live, just to keep up appearances, you understand." Arthur clenched his fists. He knew he was being blackmailed, but he saw no alternative. If the rumors continued to grow, they could try to take Lily away from him, and that would be devastating for both him and her. "Okay," he said reluctantly. "Great! I'll stop by there tomorrow to talk about the details." When he hung up the phone, Arthur felt trapped. Margaret was spreading rumors, Brenda was increasing her demands, and he was in the middle of it all, just trying to protect an innocent child who had become the light of his life. The tension in the small town grew like a silent storm. Brenda had kept her word in a theatrical way, appearing in the main square at the busiest time to visit Lily publicly. She hugged her daughter with exaggerated demonstrations of maternal affection, while whispering veiled threats in her ear. "If you tell your rich daddy anything wrong, you'll see what happens," she murmured, smiling falsely at the people who were watching. Lily trembled in her mother's arms, but kept her face neutral. She had learned from a very young age to hide her true feelings when Brenda was around. "Look at that beautiful family reunion," commented Mrs. Gable, owner of the local pharmacy, observing the scene with approval. "It's good that the girl's mother showed up. I was already finding that situation strange." The words reached Margaret's ears, who was strategically positioned nearby to fuel more comments. "Yeah, right. I also found it a bit strange at first, but now that the mother has appeared and authorized it, everything is clearer." "Authorized what?" asked Mrs. Gable curiously. "Oh, from what I understand, she's allowing Arthur to take care of the child while she gets organized. Financial issues, you know how it is," said Margaret with a tone that she knew more than she said. Meanwhile, Arthur watched everything from afar, feeling completely manipulated. He saw Lily's discomfort, perceived the curious looks of the residents, and knew that he was being used as a pawn in a game whose rules he did not fully understand. After the public staging, Brenda accompanied Arthur and Lily to his house, where she finally dropped the maternal mask. "All right, now let's settle the details of our arrangement," she said, sitting comfortably in the living room as if she were the owner of the house. "Lily, how about you go play in the backyard?" suggested Arthur, not wanting the girl to hear that conversation. "You can go, honey. The adults need to talk," said Brenda with a fake smile. As soon as Lily left, Brenda changed her posture completely. "Listen here, Arthur. I know you've become fond of the girl, and she of you. That's good for all of us, but things have a price." "You already said that. 2,000 a month. And a better apartment for me. Nothing too expensive, but that allows me to maintain a good appearance when I come to visit her. After all, I need to look like a responsible mother, don't I?" Arthur felt nauseous. "You're selling your own daughter." "I'm guaranteeing her future," retorted Brenda, without a shred of shame. "She's better off with you than she would be with me. Everyone wins." "And if I refuse?" Brenda laughed coldly. "Then I take my daughter away and tell everyone how a rich man tried to buy me to be with her. In a small town, rumors like that catch fire. Your businesses won't like it." At that moment, Arthur understood that he was completely cornered. Any move he made could result in the loss of Lily, and that had become unthinkable for him. "Okay," he said with resignation, "but I want it to be clear that I'm doing this only for Lily's sake." Sure. You are a very noble man," Brenda mocked. In the following days, Margaret's campaign of rumors intensified. She had realized that Brenda was receiving money from Arthur and saw this as a golden opportunity to question her brother-in-law's integrity. "Did you know that he's paying that woman?" she commented with the bakery employees. "Do you think that's normal?" "Maybe he's helping her get back on her feet," suggested Mrs. Davis, always trying to defend the boss. "Or maybe he's paying for something he shouldn't be," Margaret insinuated darkly. The insinuations began to circulate around the town like viruses. At the beauty salon, at the market, at the pharmacy, there was always someone commenting on the strange situation of the most prosperous businessman in the region. Dr. Edwards, the pediatrician, was sought out by several people asking for his opinion on the case. Pressured by the questions, he ended up commenting that the situation was unusual and that perhaps the competent authorities should take a look. The last straw came on a Thursday afternoon when Arthur was approached on the street by Father Michael, a respected figure in the community. "Arthur, my son, I need to talk to you," said the priest with a worried expression. "Of course, Father. What happened?" "Many people have been coming to me with concerns about your situation with that child." Arthur felt his blood boil. "What kind of concerns?" "Look, I've known you since you were a child. I know you're a good man. But sometimes appearances matter. A single man, a child with no known family. You understand that raises cuestionamientos." "Father, I'm just taking care of a child who needed help." I know. But maybe it would be better if there was official supervision. Child Protective Services, you know? Just to keep everything on the up and up. That night, Arthur arrived home completely shaken. Lily was drawing at the kitchen table, focused on her simple but vibrant strokes. "Mr. Arthur, are you sad again?" she asked, looking up from the drawing. "A little, sweetheart. Is it because of the people who are saying bad things about us?" Arthur was surprised by her perception. "How do you know that?" "I hear things." "Kids always hear more than adults think." Lily got up and hugged his legs. "But it doesn't matter what they say. I know you're good. And I know you're good too, Lily. Very good. Then it's okay. Good people stay together, even when other people don't understand." But that same night, Arthur received a call that would change everything. It was a representative from Child Protective Services. "Mr. Peterson, this is Sarah from Child Protective Services in town. We've received some concerns about a child who is in your care. We need to schedule a visit to talk." "Concerns? What kind of concerns?" "Sir, it's best if we talk in person. Can we schedule it for tomorrow afternoon?" When he hung up the phone, Arthur knew that the net had closed completely. Margaret had gotten what she wanted. The authorities were now involved, questioning his ability to care for Lily. And even worse, Brenda would certainly use this situation to further increase her financial demands. He looked at the room where Lily slept peacefully, hugged to a teddy bear that he had bought for her. How could he explain to a 4-year-old that the adult world was too cruel to allow people to help each other simply out of love? The visit from Child Protective Services was even more traumatic than Arthur had imagined. Sarah Miller, a social worker, 38 years old, arrived accompanied by another employee and Margaret, who had offered herself as a concerned family member to facilitate the process. "Mr. Peterson, we need to better understand the situation of the minor Lily," said Sarah, sitting formally in the living room. We have received reports that she is living here without proper documentation from the biological family. Her mother authorized it, explained Arthur, trying to remain calm. Brenda Johnson is aware and approves of the arrangement. Yes, we talked to her too, said Sarah, consulting her notes. But the situation is peculiar. A mother who allows a stranger to take care of her daughter for payment is not something we consider appropriate. Margaret, sitting beside her, assumed an expression of false concern. I just want what's best for the child. As Arthur's sister-in-law, I feel responsible for ensuring that everything is on the up and up. Lily, who was playing in the backyard, entered the room at that moment and immediately noticed the tension in the atmosphere. Her big eyes moved from one adult to another, trying to understand what was happening. "Lily, honey, come here," called Sarah with a forced smile. "We want to ask you some questions." The girl looked at Arthur, who nodded encouragingly, and approached cautiously. "Do you like living here with Mr. Arthur?" asked Sarah. "I like it a lot," replied Lily, her voice small but firm. "And your mommy? Do you miss her?" Lily hesitated, looking again at Arthur. "My mommy was very sad. Now she's better off away from me." The answer surprised everyone present. Sarah made some notes. "Why do you think that, honey?" "Because she was always mad at me. She said I was a burden. Here I'm not anyone's burden." The silence that followed was awkward. Margaret coughed, clearly uncomfortable with the child's revelation. "Lily," said Sarah gently, "do you feel safe here?" "I do. Mr. Arthur takes care of me, gives me food, tells me stories. He never yells at me." After a few more questions, Sarah concluded the interview. Outside the house, Arthur heard her talking to her colleague. "The child seems well cared for and happy," she said, "but the irregular situation is worrying. We'll need more time to evaluate." "And in the meantime," asked the other employee, "for now she can stay, but we'll monitor closely." That night, after Lily fell asleep, Arthur received an angry call from Brenda. "Did you call Child Protective Services on my daughter?" she shouted over the phone. "I didn't call anyone. They came on their own." "Someone made a report, Arthur, and what if they decide to take Lily away from you? How am I going to get my money?" "Brenda, is money all you think about?" "Of course I do. It's what keeps me alive. And now you've ruined everything with your inconvenience." "How did I ruin it?" "You didn't know how to keep your mouth shut. Now half the world is talking about us. It's going to cost me a lot to clean up." Arthur felt a chill in his stomach. "What do you mean?" "I mean the price has gone up, $5,000 a month, and you pay for a lawyer for me too. I need to protect myself in case this story becomes a legal problem." $5,000, you're crazy." "Crazy is you if you don't pay. Because if I want, I can go to Child Protective Services tomorrow and say that you coerced me into leaving my daughter with you, that you threatened me. Imagine the scandal." Arthur realized that he was becoming increasingly entangled in a web of blackmail from which he could not escape. Every move he made only strengthened Brenda's position. The next day, the situation worsened when Margaret appeared in his office with a triumphant expression. "Arthur, we need to talk about the business," she said, sitting down uninvited. "What about the business?" "Well, with all this situation of the child, I think it might be better if I take on more responsibilities in the company, just temporarily, of course." "What do you mean?" "People are talking, Arthur. Clients are worried. Just yesterday, Mr. Johnson, our biggest supplier of materials, approached me asking if everything was okay with you." Arthur clenched his fists. "And what did you say?" "That you were going through a difficult time, but that I was taking care to ensure that the businesses were not affected." She smiled falsely. "I think it would be good if you signed a power of attorney giving me more administrative powers, just while you resolve this child issue." At that moment, Arthur fully understood Margaret's plan. She had orchestrated that entire campaign of rumors not only to harm him, but to take control of the family businesses. "I'm not signing any power of attorney," he said firmly. Then maybe I'll have to talk to more people about my concerns, she said with a thinly veiled threat. That afternoon, when Arthur arrived home, he found Lily quieter than usual. She was sitting in the backyard, watching the chickens he raised. "What's wrong, honey? Are you sad?" "Mr. Arthur, are we going to have to separate?" she asked without looking at him. "Why are you thinking that?" "Because I heard you talking yesterday. And today the lady from the council came again and talked to the neighbors." Arthur felt his heart clench. Sarah had returned to do more investigations, collecting statements from the neighbors about his suitability to care for a child. "Lily, look at me," he said, kneeling in front of her. "I'm going to do everything I can for us to stay together. Do you believe in me?" "I believe, but what if it doesn't work?" Arthur looked at that child who had become the reason for his existence and made a decision that would change everything. "Then let's go to a place where we can stay together without anyone bothering us," he said. "What do you mean?" "Let's go to my farm in the countryside. It's far from everything, far from gossipy people. We can stay there until things calm down." Lily's eyes lit up for the first time in days. "Just us two?" "Just us two." That same night, Arthur packed some essentials and, without telling anyone, left with Lily for his small farm 25 miles from town. It was a place he had bought years before as a refuge, where he and Sarah used to spend weekends in happy times. As he drove down the dirt road under the moonlight, he looked in the rearview mirror and saw Lily sleeping peacefully in the back seat, hugged to the teddy bear. For the first time in weeks, he felt that he had taken control of the situation. What he didn't know was that his escape would only give more ammunition to Margaret and Brenda, who could now claim that he had kidnapped the child. Arthur's farm was a piece of tranquility lost in the middle of the Iowan countryside. The simple two-bedroom house had a wide porch that overlooked a green valley where some cows grazed lazily. For Lily, who had spent the last years between the dirty streets of the town and precarious shacks, that place seemed like paradise. "Is this where we're going to live now?" she asked the next morning, watching in awe a hummingbird that visited the flowers in the garden. "For now, yes," replied Arthur, preparing a simple breakfast in the rustic kitchen. "Here no one will bother us." Lily ran through the farmyard as she had never done in the town, laughing out loud for the first time since Arthur had met her. She chased butterflies, talked to the chickens that scratched freely, and discovered a small stream that cut through the property. "Can I touch the water?" she asked, pointing to the stream. "Yes, you can, but be careful not to slip." Arthur watched her with growing emotion. There, away from judgmental eyes and social pressures, Lily could finally be just a child, and he, for the first time in months, felt truly at peace. During the first weeks of April, they developed a simple but comforting routine. Arthur taught Lily the first letters using twigs to write in the dirt, while she helped him take care of the animals, always with a touching responsibility for her age. "Mr. Arthur, why don't the people in town like it when we help each other?" she asked one afternoon, while feeding the chickens. The question hit Arthur hard. How could he explain to a 4-year-old the cruelty and pettiness that sometimes inhabit the human heart? "Some people are afraid of what they don't understand," he said carefully. "And when they're afraid, they sometimes say bad things." "But we're not doing anything bad," said Lily with the crystalline logic of childhood. "No, we're not. We're just taking care of each other." "Then people are wrong." "They are." During those weeks of isolation, Arthur discovered surprising aspects of Lily's personality. The girl had an exceptional memory, being able to memorize entire stories that he told, and repeating them word for word days later. She also demonstrated an impressive practical intelligence, quickly learning to take care of the animals and even suggesting improvements in the organization of the house. "If we put the eggs in this basket and leave it there on the porch, they'll stay fresher longer," she suggested one day, watching how Arthur collected the eggs from the chickens. "How do you know that?" "My mom did that when we lived in the shack. It was one of the few things she did right." The mention of Brenda brought a momentary cloud to Lily's face, but she quickly focused again on the task they were performing. Meanwhile, in the town, the disappearance of Arthur and Lily had caused the chaos he feared. Sarah, from Child Protective Services, had come to his house for a second visit and found everything closed. The neighbors reported that they had not seen movement for a few days. Margaret did not waste time capitalizing on the situation. "I warned you that there was something strange," she said to Sarah, feigning concern. "A man doesn't run away with a child unless he has something to hide." "We need to find them," said Sarah, genuinely worried now. "I'm going to have to involve the authorities." Brenda, when she heard about the disappearance, panicked, not for her daughter but for the money she would stop receiving. "He kidnapped my daughter," she shouted at the Office of Child Protective Services. "I demand you do something." "Mrs. Johnson, you yourself said that you had authorized him to take care of the child," Sarah reminded her. "Authorizing is one thing. Him running away with her is another. I want my daughter back." But on the farm, Lily was living the happiest days of her short life. For the first time she had 3 meals a day, a safe roof over her head, and above all, someone who treated her with genuine affection. "Mr. Arthur," she said one night while watching the stars from the porch, "do you think my mom misses me?" Arthur hesitated before answering. "Why do you ask that?" "Because sometimes I miss her a little. Not the angry mother she turned into, but the mother who sang to me when I was very small." Arthur's heart clenched. Even after everything she had suffered, Lily still kept love for her mother in her pure heart. "I'm sure she remembers you," he said, choosing his words carefully. "But sometimes people need to solve their own problems before they can take good care of other people. Like you did with me." "What do you mean?" "You were very sad when you met me in the town square. But you helped me, and that made you less sad. Maybe my mom needs someone to help her too." The wisdom of that child continued to impress Arthur. How could someone so small understand such complex emotional concepts? In May, something unexpected happened. Lily was playing near the stream when she saw a man approaching on the trail that led to the farm. It was Robert Allen, the accountant who had been fired by Margaret months before. "Mr. Arthur!" she shouted, running to the house. "There's a man coming!" Arthur came out of the house and recognized Robert immediately. The 38-year-old man looked tired and worried. "Robert, what are you doing here?" "Arthur, I need to talk to you urgently. It's about Margaret and your businesses. How did you find me?" "I remembered that you always talked about this farm when we worked together. I tried a few places until I found it." Arthur asked Lily to play inside while he talked to Robert on the porch. What the accountant had to say would change everything. "Arthur, Margaret is destroying you on purpose," began Robert. "And it's not just because of the child. She's been manipulating the company's finances for months." "What do you mean?" "Diverting money from taxes, creating fake accounts, manipulating documents. When I found out and tried to warn you, she fired me inventing an excuse." Arthur felt his blood run cold. "Do you have proof of this?" "I have copies of everything. I saved them before I was fired, thinking that one day I might need them." Robert took a folder from the car. "Take a look at this." During the next hour, Robert showed documents that proved a series of financial irregularities committed by Margaret over the past 2 years. Embezzlements totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars. "Why didn't you come to me sooner?" asked Arthur, incredulous. "I tried, but she always found a way to prevent me from talking to you, and then she fired me. But when I heard that you had disappeared and that she was spreading rumors about you, I decided it was time to act." "What does she want with all this?" "To destroy you completely, to take full control of the business. The campaign against you because of the child is just a smokescreen to divert attention from her own crimes." At that moment, Arthur understood that he was being attacked on 2 fronts. Brenda was blackmailing him for money, and Margaret was trying to destroy his reputation to steal his company, and Lily was at the center of it all, being used as a weapon against him. "What can I do?" he asked, feeling lost. "Go back to the town and fight back. With this evidence, You can not only defend yourself, but put Margaret in jail." But when Arthur looked through the window and saw Lily playing peacefully with her improvised toys, he knew that returning to the town would mean exposing her again to all that poison. How could he protect the child he loved without losing everything he had built in his life? The decision to return to the town was one of the most difficult Arthur had ever made. For 3 days, he weighed all the possible options, always watching Lily play freely through the fields of the farm, knowing that returning would mean exposing her again to the whirlwind of evil they had left behind. "Mr. Arthur, you're worried again," observed Lily one morning, sitting next to him on the porch. "Is it because the man came here?" "A little, sweetheart. Sometimes adults have complicated problems to solve. Problems with bad people." Her perception continued to impress him. "Yes, with people who want to harm us." Lily was thoughtful for a moment. "Do you know what my mum always did when she was afraid of bad people?" "What?" "She hid the important things. She said that when we have secrets about bad people, they can't hurt us anymore." "What kind of secrets?" "Places where she kept money that wasn't hers. Names of people who gave her money not to tell certain things. She wrote everything in a little notebook and hid it." Arthur felt his heart race. "Lily, does your mum still have that notebook?" "Yes, she does. She hides it under a loose board on the floor of the little room where she lives now. I saw it when she thought I was sleeping. The revelation changed everything. If Brenda was documenting her own illegal activities, that could be the key to freeing him from the blackmail. Lily, do you remember anything else that your mom did that she shouldn't have?" The girl was silent for a long time, as if she was deciding whether or not she should tell. "She took money from other men too, not just from you." "What do you mean?" "She told them that if they didn't give her money, she was going to tell their wives about things they did. She called it work." Arthur realized that Brenda was a professional blackmailer, and he was just one of her victims. That explained why she had returned to the town, not for Lily, but because she had identified a new source of income. "Lily, would you trust me if I said that we need to go back to the town to resolve these things once and for all?" "I trust you for everything," she replied without hesitating. "But there the people are going to be bad with us again." "Maybe. But this time I know how to defend myself. And I'll protect you, I promise." The next day, Arthur packed his things and left with Lily back to the town. During the trip, she slept in the back seat, hugged to the teddy bear, while he formulated a plan that could save both or destroy them completely. Their arrival caused immediate commotion. Sarah, from Child Protective Services, was notified in a matter of minutes and went to Arthur's house, accompanied by a court officer. "Mr. Peterson, you have caused us great concern," she said, visibly irritated. "Leaving the town with the child without notifying anyone was extremely irresponsible." "I needed some time to think," he replied calmly. "And Lily was perfectly safe with me." "That's for us to decide. We'll need a new assessment of the situation." But before Sarah could continue, Margaret arrived accompanied by Brenda. Arthur's sister-in-law exhibited an expression of false concern, while Brenda pretended to be desperate. "My daughter!" exclaimed Brenda theatrically. "Are you okay, my darling?" Lily hid behind Arthur, clearly uncomfortable with the presence of her mother. "I'm okay," she murmured. "Arthur," said Margaret with an accusatory tone, "how could you disappear like that with the child? People are commenting that you kidnapped her." "I didn't kidnap anyone. Lily was with me because she wanted to be." "An adult man can't just decide to take a child away," said Sarah. "That raises serious questions about his suitability as a caregiver." At that moment, Arthur made a decision that would change everything. "You want to know the truth about this whole situation? Then let's clarify everything once and for all." He turned to Brenda. "Tell them how much money you are extorting from me monthly." Brenda paled. "I don't know what you're talking about. $2,000 a month, which turned into $5,000 in the last conversation. Tell them how you blackmailed me, threatening to spread rumors if I didn't pay." "That's a lie!" protested Brenda, but her voice trembled. Arthur then turned to Margaret. And you, tell them how you have been manipulating the company's books for 2 years, diverting money from taxes." "How dare you accuse me of such a thing?" shouted Margaret, but Arthur saw the panic in her eyes. "I have proof of everything," he said calmly, taking out the folder that Robert had given him. "Documents that prove the financial embezzlements, recordings of the blackmails, everything." The silence that followed was tense. Sarah looked from one to the other, trying to process the accusations that were being made. It was then that Lily spoke, her tiny voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "Aunt Sarah," she said, addressing the social worker, "I know where my mom hides the notebook with the names of the people she takes money from." All eyes turned to the girl. Brenda turned livid. "What notebook, honey?" asked Sarah gently. "The notebook where she writes everything she does wrong. She hides it under a board on the floor of her room. She doesn't know that I saw it." "Lily, shut up!" shouted Brenda, completely losing the maternal composure she had pretended until then. "Don't yell at her," said Arthur, positioning himself protectively in front of Lily. Sarah observed Brenda's reaction and understood that there was something very serious happening there. "Mrs. Johnson, can you explain to us what the child is referring to?" "She's a child. She invents stories," said Brenda desperately, but Lily continued now with more confidence. "She has the name of Mr. Smith from the bakery, of Dr. Wilson from the gas station, of Mr. Davis, who is married to Mrs. Brown. She takes money from all of them." The girl's revelations fell like bombs on those present. Sarah immediately realized that she was facing a scheme much larger than she had imagined. "Lily," she said carefully, "are you sure of what you're saying?" "I am. My mom talked on the phone with them. She always said, 'If you don't pay, I'll tell your wife.' I heard everything." Brenda attempted one last desperate move. "Are you going to believe a 4-year-old child against the word of her mother?" But her credibility was already destroyed. Sarah made some notes and said, "We'll need to investigate these allegations very carefully." Margaret, realizing that the situation was getting out of control, tried to withdraw discreetly, but Arthur intercepted her. "Ah, no, you're not going anywhere. We have a lot to clarify about the family businesses." At that moment, Arthur felt that he had finally turned the game around. The cards were on the table, and for the first time in months, he was no longer the victim of the situation. But he knew that the most difficult battle was still to come. In the days that followed Lily's revelations, the small town was shaken by an investigation that exposed a network of corruption and blackmail much larger than anyone could imagine. Sarah coordinated the work together with the local authorities, and what they found in Brenda's little room confirmed all the details that the girl had reported. The notebook was exactly where Lily said it would be, hidden under a loose board on the floor. Inside it, Brenda had meticulously documented years of criminal activities, names, dates, values, and even compromising photographs that she used to blackmail her victims. "My God," murmured Sarah, flipping through the notebook in the presence of Arthur and the local police chief. "She has at least 15 different men being blackmailed here, some for more than 3 years. Mr. Smith, owner of the bakery where Arthur had taken Lily so many times, was on the list for having had an extramarital affair years before. Dr. Wilson, respected in the community, paid to hide drinking problems that could cost him his medical license. Mr. Davis, married to Mrs. Brown for 30 years, had committed petty thefts in the company where he worked. "How did she get this information?" asked Arthur, horrified by the extent of the scheme. "Brenda has always been smart about that," explained the police chief, who had known her since adolescence. "Since she was young, she had the gift of making people trust her, tell her their secrets. Then she used that against them." Meanwhile, the investigation of Margaret's financial crimes advanced rapidly. Robert had handed over all the documents he possessed, and a full audit was being conducted on the company's books. The embezzlements total more than $200,000, reported the official accountant responsible for the audit. She created phantom suppliers, overcharged materials, diverted funds destined for taxes. Margaret, confronted with the evidence, initially tried to deny everything, then blame Robert, and finally claimed that Arthur was aware of everything. But the documents clearly showed that the manipulations had been done during the periods in which he was most emotionally vulnerable, after the loss of his wife, and then the baby. She took advantage of your moments of weakness, concluded Sarah during a meeting in her office. While you isolated yourself from the world, she took gradual control of the businesses. Arthur felt betrayed on multiple levels. His wife's sister, someone he had implicitly trusted, had spent years stealing from him systematically, and Brenda had transformed the love he felt for Lily into a weapon of blackmail. "And now," he asked, "what happens to Lily?" "Well," said Sarah carefully, "considering that Brenda will be arrested for extortion and that the accusations against you have been proven unfounded. In fact, you have shown yourself to be the most stable person in this child's life." During the investigation, something remarkable had happened to Lily. Instead of being traumatized by having to testify against her mother, she seemed relieved to finally be able to tell the truth about everything she had witnessed. "Mr. Arthur," she said one afternoon, while they were playing in the backyard, "did I do something wrong by telling about Mommy's notebook?" "No, my dear. You did the right thing. Sometimes we need to tell the truth, even when it hurts. But now my mom is mad at me. Your mom is mad because she was discovered doing bad things. It's not your fault." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "She always said I was too smart for my age. I think she was right. The wisdom of that child continued to impress everyone around her. During the testimonies, she had answered all the questions with a clarity and precision that disconcerted even the most experienced investigators. "She has a photographic memory," observed Sarah. "She remembers details that adults couldn't recall." "It's because I always needed to pay attention to everything," explained Lily when they asked how she managed to remember so many details. "When you live on the street, you have to watch everything to stay safe." 3 weeks after the start of the investigation, Brenda and Margaret were formally arrested. Brenda for multiple extortion and child neglect, Margaret for fraud and embezzlement. The entire town was shocked by the revelations. "Who would have thought that 2 people could cause so much damage?" commented Mrs. Davis, the bakery employee, when Arthur passed by with Lily. "And to think that everyone was suspecting you." The people who had spread rumors about Arthur now came to apologize, ashamed for having participated in the defamation campaign orchestrated by Margaret. Father Michael was one of the first. "My son, forgive me for having doubted you," he said, clearly embarrassed. "I should have seen that you were just helping a child in need." "Father, appearances really matter sometimes," replied Arthur generously. "I understand your concern, but not everything was resolved. Even with Brenda arrested, there remained the legal issue of Lily's custody. Technically, she was still a minor under state care until a permanent solution was found. The adoption process can take months," explained Sarah, "but considering the special circumstances of the case and the fact that Lily clearly has a strong bond with you—" "Can she stay with me during the process?" asked Arthur anxiously. "Yes. In fact, you will be designated as temporary guardian, and given your exemplary behavior throughout this situation, I believe that the adoption will be approved without problems." That night, Arthur told Lily about the possibility of adoption. He had hoped she would be happy, but her reaction surprised him. "What's adoption?" she asked. "It's when someone legally becomes your dad or mum, even if they're not your blood parents." Lily was thoughtful. "Does that mean you'd really be my dad? If you want, yes. And I'd really be your daughter. Forever." Tears started to stream down Lily's face, not from sadness, but from a deep joy she had never experienced before. "I always wanted a real dad," she whispered, "but I thought it would never happen." Why did you think that? Because my mom always said I was too difficult for anyone to really want. Arthur hugged her tightly, feeling his own heart break and heal at the same time. Your mom was very wrong. You're the most wonderful thing that's ever happened to me. Really, truly. Really, truly. That night, for the first time since they met, Lily called Arthur Dad before falling asleep. And for the first time in years, he felt like he had a family again. But there was still one last surprise waiting for them, a discovery that would forever change their perspective on what destiny really means. The adoption process brought a new routine for Arthur and Lily, but also unexpected challenges. In August, during one of the follow-up visits from Child Protective Services, Sarah brought news that shook them both. Brenda is contesting the adoption process, she announced with a worried expression. Even from prison, she managed to get a lawyer who claims she never formally authorized the transfer of guardianship. Arthur felt his blood run cold. How is that possible? She blackmailed me for months just to leave Lily with me. Legally, blackmail and formal authorization are different things. Her lawyer is arguing that she was under emotional and financial duress. Lily, who was playing in the yard, came into the room at that moment and immediately sensed the tension in the air. Did something bad happen? She asked with that sharp perception she always demonstrated. We're sorting out some paperwork issues, Arthur said, trying to sound calm. Nothing for you to worry about. But Lily wasn't convinced. That night, she had her first nightmare in months, waking up screaming and calling for Arthur. When he ran to her room, he found her trembling under the covers. I dreamed that my mum came to get me and took me away from you, she sobbed, and you couldn't find me. It was just a bad dream, he consoled, hugging her. I'll never let anyone take you away. Promise? I promise. But internally Arthur was terrified. If Brenda managed to reverse the process, he would legally lose Lily, and there would be nothing he could do. The following days were filled with growing anguish. Brenda's lawyer, Dr. Harrison Moore, was known in the region for taking on difficult cases and using questionable tactics. He had visited Brenda in prison several times and was building a defense based on the claim that she was a victim of circumstances. My client was a desperate mother who was taken advantage of by a rich and influential man, he declared in an interview for the local newspaper. She was coerced into leaving her daughter with him through financial blackmail. The report caused new uproar in the town. Some people, especially those who didn't know the full details of the case, began to question again whether Arthur had acted correctly. How dare they? Mrs. Davis said indignantly when she read the report. After everything we've discovered about that woman, there are still people who believe her lies. Arthur hired the best lawyer he could find in the region, Dr. Richard Silver, a specialist in family law. During the first meeting, Richard went straight to the point. Her case has some valid technical points, he admitted. Although morally she is wrong, legally there are loopholes that can be exploited. What kind of loopholes? The fact that you never formalized guardianship through the proper legal channels. The monthly payment can be interpreted as an irregular transaction, and mainly she is claiming that she was under psychological pressure due to her own financial circumstances. But she blackmailed me. I know, and we have evidence of that. But her lawyer is saying that she only did it because she was desperate and that you took advantage of her situation. While the adults struggled with complex legal issues, Lily began to show signs of stress. She started wetting the bed again, something that hadn't happened since the first days at Arthur's house. She also developed a sudden fear of leaving the house, always asking if it was safe to go anywhere. Dad, she said one morning in September, using the term she had naturally adopted, what if they force me to leave? That's not going to happen, Arthur said, but his own voice betrayed the uncertainty he felt. But what if it does? Can I run away and come back to you? The question broke his heart. Lily, listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to fight with all my might for you to stay with me. And if, for some very unfair reason, they try to separate you from me, I'll find a way to bring you back. Do you believe me? I believe you. But I'm scared. I'm scared too. But when we love someone very much, we fight for that person, no matter how difficult it is. The situation became even more complicated when Brenda managed to transfer to a prison with a semi-open regime, claiming good behavior and cooperation with the authorities. This gave her more freedom to communicate with her lawyer and even give interviews to newspapers. "I just want my daughter back," she declared in one of those interviews. "I made mistakes in the past, but now I'm paying for them. A mother deserves a second chance." Brenda's public statements began to generate sympathy in some sectors of the community, especially among people who didn't know the sordid details of how she had treated Lily. "It's complicated," Father Michael admitted during a conversation with Arthur. "People see a mother separated from her daughter and automatically sympathize, even knowing the story. Father, this woman tortured a child through negligence and abandonment. How can there be sympathy for that? Because people want to believe in redemption, in the possibility of change. It's human nature." In October, the situation reached its peak when the judge responsible for the case, Dr. Greg Anderson, decided to allow Brenda to have supervised visits with Lily while the challenge process was pending. "It's her right as a biological mother," Sarah explained to an indignant Arthur. "The visits will be here at Child Protective Services with full supervision, but she has a legal right to them." "And Lily? Did anyone ask what she wants?" "The child's opinion will be considered, but she is only 4 years old. Legally, her opinion doesn't have decisive weight." When Arthur told Lily about the mandatory visits, her reaction was devastating. She panicked, crying uncontrollably and begging not to have to see her mother. "She's going to take me away! She's going to take me away!" she cried, clinging to Arthur's legs in despair. "She won't, sweetheart. They're just short visits with other people present. I'll be waiting outside. Promise you won't let me go with her." "I promise." The first visit was scheduled for a Friday in October. Arthur took Lily to Child Protective Services with a broken heart, watching her tremble with fear throughout the journey. "Remember what we talked about," he said before she entered the visiting room. "You only need to stay there for an hour, and I'll be here waiting. What if she tries to convince me to leave with her? You say you want to stay with me. It's that simple." But when Lily came out of the visit an hour later, she was visibly shaken. Brenda had tried everything: emotional blackmail, false promises, even veiled threats about what would happen if Lily didn't cooperate. "She said that if I don't tell the judge that I want to go back to her, you'll stop loving me," Lily told him, crying in the car. "And do you believe that?" "No. But she said other bad things too." "What other things?" "That you're only taking care of me out of pity. That when I grow up, you'll send me away. That I'm a burden that nobody really wants." Arthur stopped the car on the shoulder, unable to continue driving with the anger he felt. How could a woman be so cruel to her own daughter? "Lily, look at me," he said, turning to her in the back seat. "Nothing your mother said is true. Nothing. You're not a burden. You're the most precious thing in my life. And I will never, ever stop loving you. Even when I grow up? Especially when you grow up. Because then we'll have many years together to remember all the good times we've lived." That night, Arthur made a desperate decision. If the legal system didn't adequately protect Lily, he would have to find another way to keep her safe. The beginning of November brought what would be the darkest moment in Arthur and Lily's entire journey. The second supervised visit had been even more traumatic than the first, with Brenda intensifying her psychological pressure on her daughter. Dr. Harrison Moore, her lawyer, had instructed her to demonstrate genuine maternal love during the visits, which in practice meant unbridled emotional manipulation. "Mommy was very sick before, my princess," Brenda said during the visit, holding Lily's small hands tightly. "But now I'm better and I can take care of you properly. Don't you want to come home with Mommy?" "My home is with Daddy Arthur," Lily replied with a firmness that impressed Sarah, who was supervising the visit. "But he's not your real dad, honey. I'm your real mom, blood of my blood. He takes care of me better than you." The child's direct response enraged Brenda, who quickly disguised her irritation when she realized that Sarah was watching closely. "Of course he takes good care of you now," she said with a forced smile. "But what about when you grow up? What about when he gets tired of playing dad? You'll be thrown away like a broken toy." Brenda's poisonous words were like daggers in Lily's heart. Even knowing that she shouldn't believe her mother, the seed of doubt was planted in her childish mind. After this second visit, Lily developed a high fever and was sick for 3 days. The pediatrician, Dr. Edwards, couldn't identify any physical cause for the illness. "It's emotional stress," he diagnosed to Arthur. "Her body is reacting to the psychological trauma of the visits." "Can't I cancel the visits?" "Unfortunately not. It's a court order." During the feverish days, Lily was delirious, talking in her dreams about being abandoned, about not being wanted, about having to go back to living on the streets. Arthur spent sleepless nights by her bedside, changing cold compresses on her forehead and whispering words of love and tranquility. "Daddy," she murmured during one early morning, still semi-conscious, "do you promise you won't give me to another person when I get big?" "I promise, my daughter. Forever and ever. Even if I mess up? Even if you mess up 1,000 times." But the illness was only the beginning of an even darker period. In mid-November, Dr. Harrison managed to get a court injunction that allowed Brenda to have unsupervised visits with Lily for periods of 4 hours. "How is that possible?" Arthur asked Dr. Richard, incredulous. He claimed that the supervised visits were harming the natural bond between mother and daughter. The judge agreed temporarily. "Richard, this woman will traumatize Lily even more." "I know. I've already filed an appeal, but until it's judged, the injunction is valid." The news of the unsupervised visits terrified Lily. The night before the first of these visits, she had such a severe panic attack that Arthur considered taking her to the hospital. "She's going to take me away this time," she repeated between sobs. "I know she will, and you'll never find me again." "Lily, look at me," Arthur said, holding her little face in his hands. "I have the phone number of everyone in this town. If your mother tries to take you anywhere, I'll know in 5 minutes. And I'll come get you immediately. But what if she takes me far away? Then I'll go after you, no matter where it is. Promise?" "With all my life." The first unsupervised visit lasted only 2 hours of the 4 scheduled. Brenda brought Lily back to Child Protective Services, claiming that the girl had gotten sick. When Arthur arrived to pick her up, he found her in a state of shock, huddled in a chair and refusing to speak. "What happened?" he asked Sarah. "We don't know." Brenda said that the girl had an emotional breakdown and thought it best to bring her back. Only at home, after much love and patience, was Lily able to tell what had happened. "She took me to a place I didn't know," she whispered, clutching her teddy bear. "A small house with a strange man. She said that if I didn't stop crying and didn't tell the judge that I wanted to live with her, she was going to give me to that man." Arthur felt a murderous fury grow in his chest. "What man was that?" "I don't know. He smelled bad and used bad words. My mom said he would take care of me if I didn't obey her." "Anything else?" "She said you were already tired of me. That's why it was taking so long to really adopt me, that if I was smart, I'd choose to stay with her." Arthur immediately called Dr. Richard, reporting what had happened. The lawyer was horrified. "That's psychological terrorism against a child," he said. "I'm going to file an emergency petition to suspend all visits. And in the meantime, document everything. Record the conversations with Lily. Photograph any signs of trauma. Write everything down." But before any legal action could be taken, something much worse happened. During the second unsupervised visit, Brenda simply disappeared with Lily. At 5 in the afternoon, when she should have brought the girl back to Child Protective Services, Brenda didn't show up. At 6, Sarah started making calls. By 7 o'clock, the authorities were notified. Arthur arrived at Child Protective Services at 7:30 that evening in total panic. "Where is she? Where's my daughter?" "We're looking," Sarah said, clearly distressed as well. "Brenda isn't answering her phone, and no one knows where they went." "I said this would happen. I warned you." "Arthur, we're going to find them." "The town isn't big. They can't have gone very far." But the hours passed and there was no news of Lily and Brenda. Arthur drove all over town, visited every place he knew, spoke with every person who might have seen something. Nothing. At midnight, he was sitting in the town square where he had first met Lily, trying to contain the despair that consumed him. He was sure that Brenda had taken the girl far away, maybe to another city, where it would be impossible to find them. It was then that his phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello? Arthur?" It was Lily's voice, weak and scared. "Lily, where are you, my darling?" "I don't know. I'm in a dark and cold place. My mom left and locked me in." "Can you see anything around you? Any clue where you are?" "There's a sound of water, and it smells bad." "Lily, listen carefully. Did you take the phone secretly?" "I took it from my mom's purse when she wasn't looking, just like you taught me for emergencies." Arthur had taught Lily how to use a phone and memorize his number exactly for situations like this, but he never imagined it would be necessary. "My dear, you're very clever. Now listen to me carefully. I'm going to call the people who are going to help you, and you'll be safe until I get there." "Daddy, I'm very scared." "I know, my daughter, but I'm going to find you. I promise I'm going to find you." When the call dropped, Arthur immediately contacted the authorities. From the clues that Lily had given, the sound of water and the bad smell, they suspected that she was hidden in some shed near the creek that ran through town. The search began again, now with more focus, and Arthur knew that the next few hours would be decisive in saving the girl who had become the center of his existence. The longest night of Arthur's life was just beginning. Together with local authorities and community volunteers, he went through every abandoned shed, every building near the creek that cut through the town. The sound of water that Lily had mentioned echoed in his mind as a crucial clue that needed to be deciphered. "There are 3 more sheds on the other side of the bridge," informed Sergeant Allen, coordinating the search. "Let's divide the teams." Arthur couldn't stand still. With every minute that passed, he imagined Lily alone and terrified in some dark place, waiting for him to keep his promise to find her. Her phone had run out of battery after the first call, cutting off his only connection with the girl. At 3 in the morning, when they had already searched most of the possible locations without success, Robert appeared at the improvised command post in the town square. "Arthur, I remembered something," he said, panting from running. "Do you know Margaret's old warehouse?" "What warehouse?" "She had a shed rented at the back of town, near the creek, where she stored materials from the construction company. With all this confusion about her crimes, nobody uses that place anymore." Arthur felt a rush of adrenaline. It made sense. Brenda could have found out about the place through her investigations into his life, and it would be the perfect place to hide someone temporarily. "Where is it exactly?" "Acacia Street, number 847. It's kind of hidden. There's a small sign from the construction company in front." Arthur didn't wait for the official team. He ran to his car and sped towards the address, his heart beating so hard that it seemed to want to jump out of his chest. As he drove through the empty streets in the early morning, he called Sergeant Allen, informing him of the new lead. The warehouse was located in a decaying industrial area of the town, surrounded by vacant lots and other abandoned buildings. When Arthur arrived, he saw a faint light coming from one of the windows of the 2-story building. He parked at a safe distance and approached on foot, trying not to make any noise. Through the dirty window, he could see Brenda talking animatedly on the phone, gesturing aggressively. No, she won't cause trouble. The girl has learned to be quiet, he heard fragments of the conversation. Tomorrow morning, we'll sort everything out. Arthur went around the building looking for another access and found a semi-open side door. He managed to enter silently and heard Brenda's voice coming from the upper floor. But where was Lily? Following his intuition, he went down to a kind of basement he had discovered. There, in a dark and damp little room, he found his daughter. Lily was sitting on the cold concrete floor, hugging the teddy bear she had insisted on taking to the visit. When she saw Arthur appear in the doorway, her eyes widened with relief and hope. "Daddy," she whispered, running into his arms. "My daughter, are you okay?" he asked, hugging her tightly and checking if she was hurt. "I am now," she replied, trembling with cold and fear. "I knew you were going to find me." "Of course I was. I promised, didn't I?" At that moment, they heard footsteps on the upper floor. Brenda had finished the call and was moving around the house. "Let's get out of here," Arthur whispered, picking Lily up in his arms. But when they reached the stairs leading to the ground floor, they heard Brenda's voice calling, "Lily, where are you, girl?" Arthur and Lily hid behind some stacked boxes, waiting for Brenda to pass. But she went straight down to the basement, as if she knew exactly where to find them. "So you came to get your little darling," she said sarcastically when she saw Arthur. "How touching. Brenda, leave Lily alone. Your fight is with me." "My fight is with both of you. She ruined everything for me, giving away my secrets, and you still owe me a lot of money." "What do you want?" $100,000 in cash. "In exchange, I give up all rights to the girl and disappear from your lives forever." Arthur protected Lily behind him. "You're crazy if you think I'm going to give you that money. Then the girl stays with me, forever this time, over my dead body." "That can be arranged too," Brenda said, and Arthur saw that she was holding a kitchen knife. At that moment, Lily spoke with a courage that surprised even Arthur. "Mom, stop it," she said, coming out from behind Arthur. "You don't really want to hurt me. You're just angry." "Shut up, Lily. You don't understand anything." "Yes, I do. You're scared just like I used to be when I lived on the streets. But hurting people doesn't solve the fear." The child's simplicity and honesty seemed to disarm Brenda momentarily. The knife trembled in her hand. "You don't know what I've been through," she said, her voice choked. "Nobody knows." "Yes, I do," Lily replied with a compassion that broke Arthur's heart. "You used to tell me when you were drinking, about your dad who hit you, about how nobody ever took care of you properly." Brenda started to cry, the knife still in her hands, but now pointed at the floor. "But Mom," Lily continued, "I can't fix the bad things that happened to you, and you can't fix things by being angry at me." It was at that moment that the authorities arrived, alerted by Arthur's call. Sergeant Allen and 2 officers entered the warehouse, making enough noise for Brenda to know that she was surrounded. "Brenda Johnson!" shouted the sergeant. "Drop the weapon and come out with your hands up." The tension of the moment was broken when Brenda, seeing that she had no way out, finally dropped the knife and burst into tears. "I just wanted someone to take care of me like he takes care of her," she sobbed. "Why did nobody ever want me the way he wants this girl?" Lily, even after everything she had been through, approached her mother and gently touched her hand. "Someone will take care of you, Mom. But first you need to learn to take care of yourself." When the authorities took Brenda away, this time definitively, Lily cried, not out of fear, but out of a deep sadness for her mother. "Daddy, why couldn't my mom ever love me properly?" she asked in the car on the way home. "Because she never learned to love herself first," Arthur replied. "And when we don't love ourselves, it's hard to love other people." "Did you learn to love yourself?" "I learned when I started loving you. You taught me that I deserved to be happy, and I learned that I deserve to be loved because you love me." That early morning, when they finally arrived home and Lily fell asleep safe in her bed, Arthur knew that they had passed the final test. No matter what else happened, they had proven that their love was stronger than any obstacle. The legal process would now be just a formality. Brenda had officially given up all rights to Lily, and there was nothing else preventing the adoption. The months of December brought a cautious peace to the lives of Arthur and Lily. After the trauma of the kidnapping, both needed time to heal the emotional wounds that the experience had left behind. Lily temporarily developed a fear of leaving the house alone, always checking if Arthur was nearby before going to play in the yard. "Daddy, will you stay here while I draw?" she asked several times a day, needing constant confirmation of his presence. "Yes, my daughter, I'm not going to leave you," he replied patiently, understanding that her emotional security needed to be rebuilt little by little. Dr. Richard brought good news in mid-December. With Brenda's official renunciation of maternal rights and the complete documentation of the case, the adoption process had been expedited by the judge. "The final hearing is scheduled for December 20th, he announced with a smile. "It's just a formality. You'll leave there as officially father and daughter." Lily, who was now 5 years old, they had discovered that her birth date was in November, something that Brenda had never bothered to celebrate, was radiant with the news. "Does that mean that nobody can ever take me away from you again?" she asked. "Never again," Arthur confirmed. "You'll be my daughter forever, on paper and in my heart." While they awaited the date of the hearing, something unexpected began to happen in the community. The people who had spread rumors about Arthur now felt deeply ashamed and began to show support in a touching way. Mrs. Baker, from the pharmacy, appeared at his house with a homemade cake. "I want to apologize for having doubted you," she said with tears in her eyes. "What you have done for this child is beautiful." Father Michael organized a special celebration in the church for the day of the official adoption. "It's a family that was born from pure love," he said during the Sunday sermon, "an example of how God works through generous hearts." Even some of the men who had been victims of Brenda's blackmail came to thank Arthur for exposing her criminal scheme. "If you hadn't been brave, I'd still be paying that woman," said Mr. Smith from the bakery. "Thank you for freeing us from that nightmare." Lily watched all these demonstrations of affection with curiosity and joy. For the first time in her life, she felt part of a community that welcomed and respected her. "Daddy, why are people being so nice to us now?" she asked one afternoon. "Because they learned that sometimes we judge situations wrong," Arthur explained. "And when we realize the mistake, we want to fix it. Like when I broke your favorite vase, and you forgave me." Exactly like that. Lily's emotional recovery surprised even the experts. Her natural resilience, combined with the loving environment that Arthur provided, allowed her to process the trauma in a healthy way. "She is an exceptional child," commented the psychologist who had been consulted after the kidnapping. "She has an impressive ability to transform negative experiences into learning." Lily had started attending the local preschool and quickly stood out for her intelligence and her ability to make friends. Her teacher, Mrs. Green, was impressed with her learning ability. "She is already reading simple words," she reported to Arthur during a meeting, "and her drawings are incredibly detailed for her age. She has a natural artistic talent." At home, Lily had transformed a corner of the room into her studio, where she created increasingly elaborate drawings. Her favorite themes were still birds, but now they always appeared flying freely in colorful and happy landscapes. "This one is us," she said, showing a drawing where two figures, one big and one small, flew together among pink clouds. "You taught me to fly." "How so?" "Before you, I only knew how to crawl and hide. Now I know how to fly high." Her words touched Arthur deeply. Little by little, he also noticed changes in himself. The lonely and closed-off businessman he had been after the loss of his wife and baby was giving way to a more open man, more connected with the community, happier. "You taught me to fly too," he said, hugging her. In mid-December, Arthur made an important decision. He decided to sell 2 of his companies and dedicate more time to family and social projects. "I want to create a fund to help other children in vulnerable situations," he explained to Dr. Richard, "in memory of everything we've been through." "What kind of help? Education, food, psychological support? I don't want any child in this town to go through what Lily went through." Lily, when she heard about the project, was enthusiastic. "Can I help choose the children?" "Of course you can. You have experience in the matter. And can I teach them to draw? You can teach them anything you want." On December 18th, 2 days before the final hearing, something magical happened. Lily was playing in the yard when she found a small wounded bird near the fence. "Daddy, come see," she called, worried. "There's a hurt birdie here." Arthur examined the little Buick's wren that had apparently hit something and was stunned. Together they cared for the bird, offering water and a safe place to recover. "Will he be okay?" Lily asked, watching the bird with affection. "I think so. Sometimes we just need time and care to heal. Like what happened to us. Like what happened to us." 2 hours later, the Buick's wren had fully recovered and flew to a nearby tree, singing cheerfully. "Look, Daddy!" Lily exclaimed, clapping her hands. "He's singing to thank you. Or maybe he's singing with joy for being free and well cared for. Like I sing in the shower?" "Exactly like you sing in the shower." That night, on the eve of the official adoption, Lily asked a question that caught Arthur off guard. "Daddy, do you think my real mom up in heaven is happy that you took care of me?" Arthur was confused for a moment. "What real mom?" "The mom who loved me before I was born. Before Brenda got me." Lily's spiritual perspective on her origin deeply touched Arthur. She had created her own narrative to make sense of her existence. "I'm sure she's very happy," he replied, "and proud of the brave and loving girl you've become." "And do you think your little baby who went to heaven is happy too?" "Why?" "Because now you have another child to love. Maybe he asked his real mom to send me to you." Lily's innocence and wisdom left Arthur speechless. Somehow she had found a way to connect all the losses and encounters of their lives in a narrative of love and purpose. "You know what?" he said, kissing her forehead. "I think you might be right. So tomorrow isn't just the day of our adoption," she said sleepily. "It's the day we're going to be thankful for having found each other." That night, for the first time since they met, both Arthur and Lily slept completely peacefully, knowing that the worst was behind them and that the best was yet to come. December 20th dawned with a crystal-clear blue sky over the small town of Harmony Creek, Iowa, as if nature itself wanted to celebrate the moment that would forever change the lives of Arthur and Lily. The girl woke up earlier than usual, running to her father's room with the yellow dress they had chosen especially for the occasion. "Daddy! The day has come," she shouted, jumping on the bed. "Today I'm going to become your real daughter on paper." "You're already my real daughter in my heart," Arthur said, hugging her. "Today we're just going to make it official for the whole world." During breakfast, Lily was visibly nervous and anxious. "What if the judge changes his mind?" she asked, stirring her food without appetite. "That's not going to happen," Arthur reassured her. "Dr. Richard said that everything is already decided. The hearing is just to sign the papers. And then I'll be able to call you Daddy in front of everyone without anyone saying it's wrong. Then you'll be able to call me Daddy even when you're an old lady with white hair." The walk to the courthouse was an early celebration. Several people on the street greeted Arthur and Lily, wishing them good luck. Mrs. Davis, from the bakery, had prepared a special cake that would be served at the party they organized for after the hearing. "May God bless this beautiful family," said Father Michael, who met them at the door of the courthouse. "You two are an example of how love can transform lives." Inside the courthouse, Dr. Richard was waiting for them with a confident smile. "Everything's ready," he announced. "The judge is just finishing another case, and then it will be your turn." Sarah from Child Protective Services was also present, now as a friend of the family. "I'm so happy for you," she said, hugging Lily. "You're going to be very happy with your dad." "I'm already happy," Lily replied. "Today, it's just going to be official." When they were called to enter the judge's chambers, Lily held Arthur's hand firmly. The judge, Dr. Gary Henderson, a man in his 60s with a kind look, smiled as he saw them enter. "So you're the family that the whole town is talking about," he said warmly. "Sit down, please." The hearing was surprisingly brief and informal. The judge asked Arthur some routine questions about his financial and emotional ability to care for Lily, and then turned to the girl. "Lily, do you want Mr. Peterson to be your dad forever?" "Yes, I do, Your Honor," she replied with a firm voice. "He's already my dad in my heart. Now it just needs to be on paper. And do you promise to be an obedient and loving daughter?" "I promise. But he already loves me even when I'm mischievous," she said, eliciting laughter from everyone in the room. "Very well. Then, by the authority vested in me, I declare the adoption of Lily Johnson by Arthur Peterson official. From now on, she will be Lily Peterson, his legal daughter in all respects." The moment when the judge signed the final document was magical. Lily jumped out of the chair and hugged Arthur with all the strength of her 5 years. "Now I'm Lily Peterson," she shouted. "I have a last name like my daddy." Arthur cried openly, not out of sadness, but of a joy so deep that he couldn't contain it. After years of loss and suffering, he finally had a family again. Outside the courthouse, a small crowd was waiting for them. The news of the adoption had spread throughout the town, and dozens of people came to celebrate with them. There were colorful balloons, a banner that read, "Welcome to the family, Lily Peterson," and even a small local band playing music. "Did you organize all this?" asked Arthur, touched. "The whole town wanted to participate," explained Mrs. Baker. "You taught us about the true meaning of family." The party in the town square lasted all afternoon. Lily ran from person to person, telling everyone that she now had an official real dad. Her smile was so radiant that it illuminated the entire environment. During the celebration, something unexpected happened. Robert, the accountant who had helped expose Margaret's crimes, approached Arthur with a proposal. "Arthur, you inspired me to do something different with my life," he said. "How about we partner to create that social project you mentioned? I can take care of the administrative part." "Seriously?" "Completely serious. I want to help other children like Lily. I think it's my way of giving something back to the community." That's how Project Free Flight was born, an initiative that would offer educational, food, and psychological support to children in situations of social vulnerability in the region. "Why that name?" asked Lily when she heard about the project. "Because you always draw birds flying free," Arthur explained, "and we want all children to have the chance to fly high like you. Can I be the mascot of the project?" "You'll be much more than a mascot. You'll be our official consultant on what children really need." In the late afternoon, when the party was ending, Arthur and Lily walked to the farm where they had taken refuge months before. The place that had been a hiding place would now be transformed into their country home, where they could spend weekends as a family. "Remember when we came here running away from the bad people?" asked Lily, running through the field. "I remember. But we weren't really running away," Arthur reflected. "We were protecting ourselves until we were strong enough to face the problems. Like the birdies that hide in the nest until they learn to fly? Exactly like that." That night, back in town, Lily insisted on sleeping in Arthur's room, as she had done in the first days after the kidnapping. But this time it wasn't out of fear. It was out of pure joy of being officially a family. "Daddy," she said, nestled next to him, "can I tell you a secret?" "Sure." "Sometimes I pretended that you were already my real dad, even before the papers, and now I don't have to pretend anymore. You know what? I also pretended that you were already my real daughter, so we were always family, we just didn't know it." "That's true. And Daddy?" "Yes, thank you for not giving up on me when things got difficult. I'm the one who thanks you for finding me that day in the square. You saved my life, We saved each other. 6 months later, in June of the following year, Project Free Flight already served 15 children in the region. Lily, now 6 years old, had truly become the official consultant of the project, helping to identify which children needed more attention and suggesting activities that would make a difference in their lives. "Daddy, I think Lucy needs more hugs," she said after an afternoon playing with the children served by the project. "She stays quiet like I used to stay when I was sad." Arthur watched his daughter with growing admiration. At 6 years old, she had developed an extraordinary social sensitivity, being able to identify and help other children in difficulties. In December, exactly 1 year after the official adoption, Arthur and Lily planted a small tree in the garden of the house, symbolizing the growth of their family. "This tree will grow along with our family," he said, as Lily helped cover the roots with soil. "And when I'm big and have my own children, they'll be able to play under it," Lily said dreamily. "When you grow up, you'll be an amazing woman who will help many people, like you helped me. Even better." That night, watching Lily sleep peacefully in her bed with the drawings of colorful birds scattered across the wall of the room, Arthur reflected on the extraordinary journey they had lived together. 2 years earlier, he was a man broken by loss, alone in his pain. She was an abandoned child, surviving on the streets with only her own courage. The meeting of both in the square that rainy March morning had been more than coincidence. It had been destiny. Together, they had faced blackmail, betrayal, defamation, and even kidnapping. But each obstacle only strengthened the bond between them, proving that true love is capable of overcoming any adversity. Now, looking to the future, Arthur saw infinite possibilities. Lily would grow up in an environment of love and security, developing her full potential. Project Free Flight would help dozens of other children find their own families or strengthen themselves to face life. And he, who had lost hope of being happy again, had discovered that sometimes life gives us second chances when we least expect it. His family had not been born from blood ties, but from something much more powerful, the conscious choice to love and protect each other unconditionally. In the small town of Harmony Creek, the story of Arthur and Lily had become a legend. A story about how love can flourish in the most unexpected places, how generosity can transform lives, and how sometimes the most beautiful families are those we choose to build with our hearts. And while Lily dreamed of colorful birds flying free through the blue sky, Arthur knew that his promise had been fulfilled. They had found each other, and they would never be alone again. If you enjoyed this wonderful story, please comment. Your opinion is very important. And if you love beautiful stories, subscribe to my channel. I promise to make your day better with my videos.